After further review, this is the Fantasy Football Blitz.
Do you know who I am?
Powered by whotostart.com.
Who the hell are you?
Whotostart.com.
Peekaboo.
The Fantasy Football Blitz.
Who the business?
This is the Fantasy Football Blitz, powered by whotostart.com on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge and 104.5ESPN.com.
Week 3 in the NFL, about 4 hours away from kicking off. Before the NFL weekend begins, we always get you personalized fantasy football advice from our friends at whotostart.com. Darren Tietkin is with us. How are you, D?
Doing well. How about yourself?
Fantastic. Looking forward to a barn burner tonight in the NFC South. Any must-starts or sleepers in tonight's game? Falcons, Bucks.
Yeah, I mean, if you got players on either offense, start them because Atlanta's kind of turning into the greatest show on turf there, and their defense is just terrible. So it doesn't look like Doug Martin's not going to play tonight, as far as what we're reading. So plug Bobby Rainey in if you're able to get him. He had a great game last game, and Falcons are allowing the most yards and touchdowns to running backs. So definitely a huge sleeper there in Bobby Rainey.
We always try to get personalized fantasy football questions. It's what they do at whotostart.com. It's the numeral 2. Let's get to it. Corey asks, Darren, who to start, Niall Davis or Frank Gore at flex?
You got to go with Davis. I mean, Jamal Charles supposedly practicing, but I think he's just out there trying to get that ankle loose. Davis has a pretty good matchup here, so we're going to go with Davis at Miami.
Here's one from John. Flex spot, PPR, who to start, Fitzgerald or Pierre Thomas?
You know, people are kind of down on Fitzgerald just because of the matchup there against the Niners and with Carson Palmer out, but Drew Stanton's a savvy quarterback. He's been around a while, and he definitely locks on to Fitzgerald. So I think we decide with Fitzgerald there.
Hunter Burns asks who to start, Lamar Miller or Shane Vereen, standard scoring?
Standard scoring, you've got to get away from Vereen. I think this is going to be Ridley's game for the Patriots, so I'd go with your other option there.
Let's see. Here's one from Kyle. Says looking for 2 to start at flex in a PPR league. He's got Percy Harvin, Steve Smith, or Cordero Patterson. I guess it's sort of a who to sit question. Harvin, Steve Smith, Cordero Patterson.
I think you got to sit Smith this week. He's looked pretty good, but don't like the matchup all that much this week. I think Patterson and Harvin are just going to get you more big game action, if you will, while Smith is better suited as a third wide receiver or a flex. So I think Patterson and Harvin give you most upside there.
Tell me next week against Carolina you're telling people to start Steve Smith after he said he'd leave his guts on the field.
Absolutely.
That's going to be huge. Carlo says, Darren, who to start, Bernard Pierce or Chris Ivory?
A lot of people high on Ivory this week. We're not buying it. I think this is going to be Chris Johnson's game. It's going to be a higher scoring game, a lot of passing. So I think Ivory's just better as a flex. So I think you go with Pierce there, getting the start for the Ravens.
You can always jump in the huddle on the 104.5 Baton Rouge app, driven by the Sterling Automotive Group. Get your personalized fantasy football questions answered right here. Another one says, PPR league, tight end can be flex. Needs to start two wide receivers, a tight end, and a flex, and lists a whole bunch. Now, that's too complicated. Email him. Let's see, Rivers or Stafford, who to start?
Oh, you can't sit Stafford. I mean, this guy is just chucking the ball all over the place. Love the matchup against Aaron Rodgers and the Packers. Both teams are going to throw the ball, 35 times. Both teams are going to score in the 30s probably. So Stafford's your pick for this week.
Who to start? Defense, Seattle or Buffalo?
Seattle, you just kind of start them regardless of matchup. I mean, Peyton Manning's Peyton Manning. He's going to throw the ball a ton. But it's Seattle defense that they're at home, and it's a Super Bowl rematch. So you got to start those guys. Really
interested in what you think about Jeremy Hill, who saw his production increase last week for Cincinnati. This question says, Darren, would you start either Hill or Lamar Miller over C.J. Spiller this weekend, Standard League?
No, I think Spiller's probably your guy, but we do like Hill, just kind of touching on him. Tennessee's much, much softer against the run than they are the pass. A.J. Green most likely out. So if you have Jeremy Hill and you're looking to fill a flex spot, we definitely like him. But Spiller is probably your pick there over him.
Let's see if we can squeeze in a few more here. Who to start, Darren Sproles or Monte Ball?
lot of people high on Ball this week at Seattle as the Broncos look to kind of just churn out the yards there. But I'm sorry, who was the other pick?
Monte Ball or Sproles.
Oh, Sproles, of course. Yeah, I was off track there for a second, but in PPR formats, he's looking fantastic with that Eagle team. Going into the season, we're a little skeptical just based on the way that McCoy operates out of the backfield, but they're figuring out a way to get Sproles involved. So if you're in a PPR league, you can't do much better than Sproles this week or more moving forward.
Ryan asked Darren who to start. He's looking for 2 wide receivers. He's got Welker, Steve Smith, Torrey Smith, and Brandon Cooks. Who to start?
I think you got to go with Steve Smith Sr. and Cooks there. Cooks is going to be really, really busy this week as Saints look to get back on track.
Yeah.
Torrey Smith, not so much. I think Steve Smith actually fits that offense a little bit better. His upside is a little bit limited this week, but he should be able to get you 4 or 5 catches, maybe a little bit more. So we like him as your second wideout.
Steven says who to sit, Ellington, Spiller, or Ivory. I know you already said you're not high on Ivory this week.
Yeah, you got to go with the other 2 options. I think Ivory, his cap this week is probably going to be 40 or 50 yards. Chris Johnson's going to get the bulk of the work, I think, Monday night. So I would sit Ivory.
Brandon Cooks or Marcus Colston, standard league, who to start?
Boy, I mean, this Saints team, as I'm sure you've discussed, is got a good opportunity to really rebound this week, and I think both wide receivers are going to be super busy this week. I think Colston is probably your safer bet, so I would probably go with Colston there.
Darren, we always wrap you up with an off-the-wall who to start question, and there's a couple to choose from today. Maybe I'll lob them both at you. Who to start, Cheech or Chong, and we also have a black suit or brown suit to a fall wedding.
You got to go with Cheech. I mean, Chong's just a little bit too out there. Cheech kind of comes correct, with you. And I'm going to go with the brown suits.
Okay.
The black suits a little on the standard side, but fall it's kind of part in the middle between summer and winter. There, you want to do something a little bit different with the brown.
Sure, some earth tones, kind of autumny, a little orange, a little brown here and there. It fits maybe like a little orange accent in the tie. It could work. I like it.
You could do that.
I like it a lot. Who2start.com. That's the website. Numeral 2 in the middle. Who2start.com. You can always plug in ESPN for the promo code and get a discount for listening to the show. Darren Tietken, Who2start.com. We'll do it again next